thank you for coming. For those of you that don't know, my name is Simon Resch. I'm the chair of the Emerson-Franklin Community Development Corporation. It's a really interesting time that we're all in. COVID-19 and a global pandemic, economic development, might not seem like a priority for all of us. And I think, judging by the room, COVID is still impacting everybody. You guys are as far away from me as possible right now. Still very close to each other, though. No coughing over there, Mr. Nichols. At any rate, economic development, community development is just as important today as it was pre-COVID, will be just as important 6 months from now. And actually, I think the situation in the world puts a lot of opportunities in our lap if we are organized, if we are informed, and if we go out there and take advantage, convert those opportunities. So I personally believe that the next 12 months, the sky's the limit for us. We're going to go through some of the things that we have gotten up to over the last 12 months. Excellent. Okay, so our philosophical direction at the CDC. I'm going to ramble through a couple of these things that we do when we have board meetings, how we communicate to the residents, what it is that we're getting up to, why are we organized. So our vision: to strive to bring growth to our communities and sustain that growth by developing a dynamic economy. We have a pretty healthy economy here in our RM, but certainly some dynamism. Is that a word? No. Are you sure? No. Thank you. Healthy injection of dynamism would help. Ensuring a high quality of life and maintaining a healthy environment. These are really good philosophical objectives. Our mission: to encourage, attract, and promote business, jobs, and education to enhance our community. Okay, so from a philosophical standpoint, those are really easy and obvious ones. I think everybody in the room agrees. What's tangible in that? How does that manifest into productivity and into something that we can sink our teeth into? We identify some pillars, of course. I think everybody in the room is likely as up to speed with me on really what one of our big focuses has been for the last couple of years, and that's, of course, the International Port of Entry in Emerson on Highway 75 and the International Trade Corridor. There's a lot of activity there. That's our backyard. That's an obvious pillar, an obvious one. There was a lot of stuff in there. We'll get to the details of that. Infrastructure improvements. Those of us that live in Emerson proper right now, we know what's going on with infrastructure. We have our accesses closed. We have construction. There's a little bit of frustration there, but Emerson is not the only corner of our RM, and the way that we build, the way that we consume infrastructure here can really hamper our economic development efforts. And I think to some of the farmers who cannot travel down some of our roads because of load restrictions, and they have to put on how many extra kilometers, they have to burn how much extra fuel, they have to hire how many extra employees just to do, normal, simple things. This is obviously an issue that hampers our growth. Without organization, without organized activity, none of that ever gets solved. Community development. I grew up in Emerson. It was a great town to grow up in. Some of the houses aren't there anymore. Some of the people have gone. We struggle for a labor market. We struggle for additional opportunities. We struggle where we're going to put our kids when they go to school, daycare, all of those things, restaurants and grocery stores, all of that community development, those things that we should enjoy like the rest of the world. That's absolutely one of our pillars as well. I think we've got a long way to grow in our RM. And I'm very excited for some of the community development initiatives that we've been discussing, and some of the things that we have slated to come up. Achievements. I see that grin, Mr. Yenther. Let's go through some of the things that we've done. Okay, Port Authority and Service Corridor. We've actually delineated this, I think, since the group present here got the last update. A Port Authority really is nothing more than an on-the-ground management entity that is informed through daily activity, through relationships with entities that already exist and operate at the border, that has a focus on international movement of goods and people. All of those things that in my view, and I have a unique view on what happens at that border, but all of those things that in my view would greatly improve the efficiencies at the border, the economic opportunities at the border, and really extend benefits out to the rest of the municipality. That's a Port Authority. That deals with international movements, and that deals with port logistics, and that deals with a number of other things that might not trickle down so concretely and succinctly into the community. A service corridor, however, is something that we can all very easily take a look at, understand, and understand how we can participate in that, each and every single one of us. A service corridor is exactly what it sounds like. Is there a gas station in Emerson when you're traveling south? Can you fill up? You can't. Can you grab a bite to eat? Sometimes you can in Emerson, right, Don? Sometimes you can't. Can you get flyers for where you're going south, where you're going north? You can't do any of those things right now. So a service corridor really satisfies the demands that unique local market places on the infrastructure, and it really will help to deliver economic and community benefits to everybody else, those of us who would like to participate in that. This is, for me, this is a very, very big and very exciting undertaking. I don't think we've had a measure of ownership, a measure of control over our ports locally, at least not in my memory. And so many of us have our livelihoods tied to the activities at those borders. It's definitely an area that I think we will benefit from if we shore up. So a Port Authority and a service corridor, very much with input from the residents of Emerson-Franklin. That for me is exciting times out here. Richard Winthrop. We've been working with the folks over at Richard Winthrop for a number of years, a professional development company organization based out of Winnipeg. And we've developed this concept paper in coordination and conjunction with them. That's absolutely an achievement. We go around the country with this. We go to the Manitoba Trucking Association, to our provincial government, ministers, economic development committees. We go to the federal government. We go international with this concept paper. And we get a good audience everywhere we go. Like that's really exciting for me. How many people have been through a government meeting and explained your case to a minister or to a bureaucrat and got the blank stare? I suspect everybody has. But we get a lot of excitement. We get a lot of feedback on this concept paper. That's definitely an achievement for me. Of course, you can't sell what you have if you don't know what you have, and so creating the Emerson and region economic profile, crucial for us. We know who we are, we know where we are, we know what we have, we know what we don't have, and we know how to get there. Bilateral partnership negotiations. It's one thing to talk about the Canadian side of our borders. It's something else entirely, especially these days, to talk about what's happening in the U.S., not only because they don't have a global pandemic under control, but they have an agitator in certain instances. For president and international relations have become that much trickier. Nonetheless, we have a very good dialogue going with our counterparts south of us in North Dakota, their economic development organizations. And we've had a number of very good, very robust conversations about how the mirror, the U.S. side of the border, can couple themselves to what we are doing and have really and truly a robust international entity there to help manage these opportunities for us. Infrastructure improvements. There we go. So, the Manitoba Infrastructure Road Improvement Submission. This was an interesting one for us because we tackled this one as an organization without really outside of our partnership with Richard Wintrub. We tackled this one on our own. Normally we would have an economist go out there and speak to the Als and speak to the Dennises and speak to everybody else who was impacted by some of these weight restrictions on our roads and really do the assessments. What is this truly costing us? And we elected to undertake that one on our own. I think we had very, very good survey results. We really, really learned as an organization what the impact of highway restrictions can mean to an RM like Emerson-Franklin, to an RM like Stewart Burn, like Piney. We have 3 RMs, all of us, looking at the same set of infrastructure. And we have a really good set of economic data that has come out from survey responses that show us we've got a long way to go before we maximize our economic opportunities here. And that's just because we don't plan our roads properly. Literally. We have so much room to grow. Let's build our roads properly. Nobody can speak to that better than the fella at the end of the table there. Every time we have a meeting, Al comes with one map and another map and another map and 3 different, there are 3 seasons, I think, in Manitoba for road restrictions. Maybe there's 2, I don't know, Al can speak to it. But what he has to do to deliver a load is crazy. It's crazy. And I would ask an MLA and I would ask an MP and I would ask every single councillor to go on a ride with Al and see what he has to go through just to make a living. It's crazy. So, coming up with a survey and consolidating survey results, putting that into an economic report that we can feed back to Manitoba Infrastructure and hopefully build some good conversations, good dialogue, and good partnerships on, crucial. Absolutely crucial. We've got that done. We're organized. We're aligned with the other 2 municipalities, and we're active with Manitoba Infrastructure seeking improvements. That's massive. It's not an easy undertaking, and it's massive. Who has terrible internet at home in the RM? Everybody. Who has had to do a Zoom meeting during this pandemic? Who's had their Zoom meeting interrupted by slow internet in Emerson-Franklin? Who missed a lot of really important information on that Zoom meeting? How important is high-speed internet? It's how we're all doing things these days. And so Valley Fiber, a company from Winkler with expansion plans for this part of the world, and the RM have agreed that we are going to lay fiber optic cable and we're going to deliver high-speed internet to the residents of Emerson-Franklin. That's massive. That's absolutely massive. Very happy about that one. And community development. This is the piece that I'm so excited about because we have really tangible, realizable opportunities, and we can come up with a report, we can put that all down on paper, we can see 2 and 2 makes 4, let's go out and get it. Community development, though, really is, what are you dreaming of and how do we go out and do that? You can't really write a paper for that. Tourism and placemaking inventory. I've been involved in tourism my entire life. When we think of tourism, we think mountains, oceans, palm trees, Hawaii, Hollywood. But the tourism picture in Manitoba is not quite so simple. Manitoba really, even though we report our tourism numbers and we treat those tourism numbers in terms of receipts, like any other jurisdiction would treat tourists, the vast majority of the tourism receipt counts in Manitoba are generated by Manitobans. That's year after year after year after year. And so really what that tells us is that Manitobans are interested in Manitoba, go out and see what it is that we have to do here. And not everybody wants to do that in Winnipeg. That's very much true. Not everybody can afford to go to Churchill. And not everybody has the luxury of renting a cottage at a lake and doing that on the weekend. So what can we do around here from a tourism perspective, knowing that Manitobans are our tourists? And it's unfortunate that Wayne couldn't make it today because Wayne Arsini has been so active with his trail development and some of the other things. And Joanne, I think that you do that with Wayne? No? But tourism. Yes. And so in terms of recreational activities, community development, tourism, all those things that we like to do, go to a festival, go out to a restaurant, have a drink with a friend. We have so much opportunity here, so much. For me, I can't say it enough. The sky is the limit. In terms of community development, particularly tourism, I think we got something to sell here, and I'm really, really excited to see what the tourism, the active tourism committees in our RM are coming up with and working on, because I think there's just a wealth of opportunity. Website data portal, again, speaking to the importance of information, knowing who we are, where we come from, where we're going. Of course, having a data portal for everybody to go analyze, share feedback, glean some additional information, absolutely crucial. Not only is it important, this one looks really good. It's very professional, put together by these two fellas right here. We should be proud of that. And now the next steps. Okay, so that's a bit of a very brief update on the activities that we've been up to. If there are any questions at this point, although I suspect that there probably aren't, everything that we have done has been well communicated. The information is out there. If there are any questions at this point, fire away, please. If not, let's talk about the next steps and what we're going to get up to under COVID-19 in 2021. Port Authority Service Corridor.
Do you want us to speak to this?
Yeah, you're up.
So, my name is Matthew Robinson. This is my associate Brody, Osadick, and so we're from Richard Winthrop Planning and Development. We're out of Winnipeg. We're the young faces of our small firm. But we've been kind of really privileged to have the opportunity to work so closely with the municipality, with this CDC. We've been there since the inception of the CDC, and our principal planner, Michelle, has done a lot of really good work leading up to where we are today. And so myself and Brody have been doing as much as we can to really bring a lot of these things forward. So I think speaking to one of the most planning aspects of what we're doing at the CDC is this development plan amendment. Why is this important to what the Port Authority and Service Corridor is? We're planners by nature, and so with a development plan, we're setting out really the areas for change and growth. So what we're doing is we are delineating the boundaries that indicate to anyone that's both looking from externally from the municipality or within the municipality, where is transformation going to happen. So ultimately we've kind of laid out this very rough boundary Doesn't mean anything is changing in those lands, but we're just saying, here's where the opportunity lies. And we're delineating, this area to be the Port Authority, where some of the new subsequent planning policies will be able to apply. And that's when you can really start creating the frameworks for what's going to happen and the actual physical work that you're going to see. So next, part of this process, of course, is funding. To actually create the Port Authority and Service Corridor, you need the proper funding mechanisms to get there. So that has been, of course, a very important piece, and that's been an ongoing process since the beginning of the CDC, looking at what kind of funding opportunities. How are we going to frame this to people living here and people across Manitoba government and federally here. So we're looking at the National Trades Corridor Fund, and we've got Greg Dandowich, formerly from Economic Development Winnipeg, as a partner to help with this funding process. And what this National Trades Corridor Fund will do, it's a massive federal pool of money that you can dip into for these major infrastructure projects. And so right now we're working on that submission and to really advance where this Port Authority can go into the future.
And once these two pieces are kind of plugged in, the next step will be to initiate a secondary plan. And this type of plan would intend to guide subdivision design, infrastructure servicing, road patterns, while also setting out rules to guide the surrounding natural and cultural heritage. So that would be a next step. And tied into this secondary plan would ideally be a pilot project of a biomass energy system at the port of entry. And many of you might be aware that the municipality has been working alongside Strategic Community Consulting to investigate what a biomass district energy grid would look like in the municipality, in Emerson, in Dominion City. And it really provides a business case for what this would look like, and the next steps set out in this study really try and push a pilot project at the port of entry. And there, it lays out some funding mechanisms, which I'll get into in the following slide. So working with regional stakeholders is essential to move any infrastructure project forward. And so a next step will be continued dialogue with Rosa River, Piney and Stewartburn, as well as Emerson-Franklin, of course. The Capital Project and Signature Initiative Program is offered through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and its overall objective is to help support transformative, best-in-class municipal projects, and this is where the district energy biomass system would plug in. This kind of program, I think, would cover costs up to, or 50% up to $500,000. Regardless, it's a big pool of money to tap into to help support some of our visions at the port and ultimately throughout the region. And cell coverage, so Valley Fiber has expressed interest in expanding their towers east of the municipality. I'm unsure on the timelines with this, but I imagine it wouldn't be too far after the initial cell towers.
Yeah, I think with this, part of the ongoing conversations about digital infrastructure and communications is that it's an ongoing lobbying effort to get a lot of this, to get improved services in the municipality. And so that's something that that the municipality is committed to, something the CDC is really raised as a important component to their efforts, and infrastructure in particular. And that same goes with, of course, the road improvement lobbying as an ongoing effort. As we mentioned, the work that's already been done with the surveys to understand, the current usage of the roads, and where improvements are needed, and then lobbying, of course, MI and any other government to help to get the road improvements working for the municipality and for Stewart Burn and Piney as well.
Next steps with community development involves this guy, placemaking workbook. This essentially has 3 components to be dispersed through the community and get feedback on what kind of community assets do people value, do they use, and then following would provide them with a series of strategies that would be inexpensive, easy to implement, and to try and improve or enhance these assets, and then try and determine how we could implement this immediately and practically. The workbook, the ideas that are generated through this workbook would help inform a tourism action plan, which essentially would help set out practical objectives and actions for some of the assets we've identified.
Yeah, I think already the tourism committee that's functioning currently in the municipality has done a lot of great work, and there's such a lot of great momentum that they are bringing to the region, to the area. And I think what this is trying to do is to help focus a lot of these efforts and all this and this energy into a document that's going to really lay out the priorities and what can be done now, and what's going to cost more, what's going to cost less, what can we act on now. And so it's this kind of planning work that is being informed by all the engagement that we've been doing so far over the past year, and with this new workbook to really activate a lot of what's already here and to build on it. And so I'm looking forward to that component, and hopefully that will really push a lot of that already existing momentum that's there. And then let me see, housing inventory. I'll let you take that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, this was outlined in the 2019 strategic plan to identify housing gaps, to kind of create a package for potential developers, and see what kind of incentives could perhaps maybe help fill those gaps. And so this is an immediate next step for the CDC, is to really get a good sense of what we have to offer to families, to prospective residents. And the housing piece kind of ties in with the community profile, which essentially would highlight more in depth some of the specific things, say utilities or taxation or different components of the municipality that could also highlight what we have to offer in terms of community assets and education. The list goes on, demographics, certain kind of trends. So this is something that we hope to compile.
And it's part of this data portal that was spoken about as an achievement thus far. A lot of the work that Brody has been doing behind the scenes is getting this together, so we actually have a reservoir, an inventory of information that can be accessed easily. And so if you go onto the Emerson CDC website now, you can see the tourism inventory that we've done, and you can kind of get a little bit of screenshot of that, and it's what is informing the maps you would get into the placemaking workbook. And so it's going to really be like a high-class format of information gathering that will then just further help anybody but developer interests or investment interests to understand what's going on in Emerson-Franklin, and then that's something that Emerson-Franklin can use to understand, well, okay, where do we need to focus on? What do we need to build on? And so that is ultimately getting that breadth of information across the different areas, being housing and tourism and any other community elements that need to be taken stock of. That's going to really help give that picture of where Emerson-Franklin is right now. And so just kind of summing that up and moving forward, all these achievements, all these tasks that we're talking about now were laid out in an initial strategic plan that was created at the inception of the CDC that you can find on the website. And so I think moving forward, we're reviewing all the work that's been done and what still the next steps that need to be done, and that's going to be informing the strategic plan 2.0 that's going to be happening soon. But right now, there's still a lot of these ongoing things that we're hoping to accomplish in the near future. So that being the development plan amendment, that's going to have to go to a public hearing, and hopefully we're going to be moving that through the processes in the province, and so that's going to be something you're going to hear of soon. The National Trades Corridor Fund, as we mentioned, that's going to be compiled and submitted, and hopefully we can get some good dialogue going forward to really start building our funding mechanisms for the Port Authority. The Capital Project Signature Initiative Program, another funding mechanism that is going to hopefully provide some support to the infrastructure and asset building that we're doing here. Continued road improvement lobbying. As we mentioned, this is, as Simon mentioned, this is something that is extremely important, and it's an ongoing issue. Each board meeting, of course, we're further advancing, trying to advance these discussions. The Tourism Action Plan, something we're going to work on right away to start collecting what kind of actions can we bring forward at the tourism and placemaking level, and improving quality of life and opportunities for recreation and for fun in the municipality. And then the community profile and housing inventory. So ultimately, how to stay involved. Just to let everyone know, we're recording this right now, and we're going to have this alongside the presentation, so we can put this on YouTube so everyone can access this afterwards, so anyone who isn't here can be able to follow along at home. As well as we provide annual newsletter updates to keep everyone informed about these achievements, and which we have some copies of here, or I guess we have the annual report here, but we have copies of available at the municipality. The website is always, we're always updating it when needed, whether it be with a survey or with any initiatives that we've completed recently for updating the data portal. You can find us on that website there. And then with the various initiatives like the placemaking workbook, it's another way to stay involved. So so that's our piece. Is there any more comments from the board, from Dave, you might want to speak of before we...
Yeah, well, you took all my lines.
Yeah.
Your part. I sure did. I'll say a few words.
Sure.
The creation of the CDC was very important for this area. This area has obviously been underdeveloped for many, many years. And we just really need to get things together and move forward for the future, because we've all seen, like Dominion City, Emerson, Tolstoy, Arnott, all our different communities used to be larger when we were younger, right? There used to be opportunities when kids came out of school. We haven't seen that in a long time around here. There is some successes. There's an exciting business at the border there, Run and Red, that's doing extremely well, becoming a very large employer in the area, and that's a real success story, but we need more of those. So the CDC is created to help make those kinds of things happen here. And it's not only about making money and creating jobs and opportunities, it's also about making this a better place to live, a better place to grow, a place to raise your family and have a great quality of life, because this is a beautiful area. And I know anybody that I know that comes into Emerson-Franklin tells me what a beautiful area this is. This is really nice. What a gem. You know, and we're an hour from Winnipeg. We got 3 railways and 2 major highways. Like we have a ton of opportunity. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit here, and we're going to try to pick as much as we can. We appreciate the support of our MLA Josh Ginter. He's been great, but we can't just bring things to Josh and say, "Oh, we need a better road. We need the 201 to be better. It's got to be a better road. We have all these complaints. Everyone's complaining, or we need this development at the border because we need jobs." It's the CDC's job to give Josh the ammunition to go at the province, to go to the feds and say, look, here's an economic impact, here's the studies, here's what's going to work, here's what doesn't work, here's how much jobs are going to be created, here's how much wealth can be created by these initiatives, and then it actually has substance, and that's what it's all about. We're creating substance and trying to make things better here. So my hat's off to everybody on the CDC board. It's a lot of work. Everyone here is a stakeholder, which is huge. So we're all stakeholders. Anyone that lives here is a stakeholder. But the marriage between the Economic Development Corporation, which is business and stakeholders and community members, and the local council is huge. So it's something we want to keep going, and we appreciate the support of Richard Winthrop, who is helping to guide us to where we need to go, and we think the future here is bright. So we're going to keep forging ahead, and we look forward to COVID going away and 2021 being a better year than ever. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So I guess, Simon, you can come back up, but if there's any questions, we could try to field them. But otherwise?
Okay, well, to summarize then, we have a full plate. We got a lot of big things on the go, some really big opportunities. They're big, they're small, they're in every single corner of this municipality. Every time you turn around, there's an opportunity, and we are there looking to scoop them up, looking to convert them. We can't do it alone. Of course, there are a lot of very active volunteers here, and all of this is volunteer. All of it is volunteer. There's a lot of volunteerism in the borders of Emerson-Franklin. That's commendable, I think. This is something that, development, economic development, community development, it needs organization, it needs to be informed. There has to be a professional approach. It's not easy to do when you're all volunteer-based. And so, as the chair, terms expire, but I would like to take this opportunity to personally and individually thank everybody that came forward to volunteer their time, not only here, but elsewhere in the RM as well. We got a lot of things going on. There's a golf course in Emerson. There's tourism activity in every corner. Our firemen, everybody who's out there volunteering. It's how we do things out here. This has been a pleasure so far to be a part of, and again, the sky is the limit, and we'll get there working together. So with that, big exciting things on the horizon. Let's all take a big bite, and if anybody has any questions, fire away.
Come on, Dave Smith, you got a question.
The presentation was that good.
Complete, hey?
I didn't get really captured the essence.
I forgot the pin. That's what you normally do in this moment, right? You drop a pin, and then everybody goes, yeah, you can hear a pin drop. Okay, well, if there aren't any questions, I think that sums it up for us. Good. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance. Stay tuned. Check out the website. Read the newsletters. Ask some questions. And if anybody, again, this is all volunteer stuff, right? So if there's something happening in a corner of the RM that maybe hasn't received due attention, maybe that would benefit from shining some light on it, bring it forward to the CDC, send an email, come to a meeting, put your hand up. We're active on files that we know we should be active on. If there's some things that we don't yet know, share, participate. Thank you.
Actually, I do have a question. Has the Army of Montcalm been engaged in any of this?
Yes, yeah. Yes, Montcalm has been engaged.
Excellent.
Yep.
Good to hear.
We want this to be a win for the whole area. Like our initiatives at the border, not just for Emerson-Franklin, they'll be for the whole region. We had the Association of Manitoba Municipalities in today, and we discussed our project and things we were looking for. So we reiterate all the time, it's not just about Emerson-Franklin, but it's the greater region. And everybody will win if some of these projects come to fruition.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
It's very nice to have a good economic development committee.
I agree.
And Simon, you're doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's amateur. It's tricky. Eventually, somebody else is going to come in, and rightfully so, too. New perspective, new ideas, new energy, all of those things that make a robust economic development committee on a volunteer basis healthy. Those are some really important things. We are slated for some new director nominations. One of the things that we are going to ensure that we do before we get to that point is ensure a measure of philosophical continuity. So we can't deplete the entire board at once and then replace with all new directors, because everybody will be in the dark as we move forward. So we do have that coming up. We certainly will be looking for some new volunteer directors to participate, to share ideas, to bring forward some of their challenges or what they view as opportunities, and help us go out there and knock it out of the park. So with that, thank you, everybody. Stay tuned, check out the website, read the newsletters. Big exciting things happening. Your backyard.
Finish the dainties.
Yeah, and eat the cookies and drink the coffee.